Can't you see I'm no good without you? Take my arms, I want to lose them. Take my lips, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Take my lips, I want to lose them. Take my arms, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Look at me, I'm as helpless as a kitten up a tree, and it feels like I'm clinging to a cloud. I can't understand, I get misty just holding your hand. Walk my way and 1,000 violins begin to play, or it might be the sound of your hello, that music I hear. I get misty the moment you're near. You can say that you're leading me on, but that's just what I want you to do. Don't you notice how helplessly I'm lost? That's why I'm following you. On my own will I wander through this wonderland alone, never knowing my right foot from my left, my hand from my glove. I'm too misty and too much in love. can say that you're leading me on, but it's just what I want you to do. Don't you notice how helplessly I'm lost? That's why I'm following you. On my own will I wander through this wonderland alone, never knowing my right foot from my left, my hand from my glove. I'm too misty and too much in love.
Daniel. What's up, Daniel? Can't wait to see how it goes with you and the baby when they're older. Yeah. This girl's going to be awesome. Glad you're back doing the lives. You've been a real inspiration for my playing for the last 2 years. Oh, thank you so much, Mama Peg. I appreciate it. If you want to be inspired, you got to listen to the new Marvin album. That's the best playing I've ever done in my life. Hey, Jake, how you doing? Thanks, Thomas. That F-hole is serious. How you doing, Susanna with a Z? Susanna. Hey, baby. You're still awake. What song do you want to hear? How about this?
Willow, weep for me. Willow, weep for me. Bend your branches green along the stream that runs to sea. Listen to my plea. Listen, willow, and weep for me. Gone my lover's dream, lovely summer dream. Gone and left me here to weep my tears into the stream. Sad as I can be, bend a willow and weep for me. Whisper to the wind and say my love has sinned. Leave my heart a breaking and making a moan. Murmur to the night to hide my lover's light, so none could find me sighing and crying all alone. Weeping willow tree, weep in sympathy. Bend your branches down along the stream that runs to sea. When the shadows fall, bend a willow and weep for me. again. Leave my heart a-breaking and making a moan. Murmur to the night to hide my lover's light, so none could find me sighing and crying all alone. Weeping willow tree, weep in sympathy, bend your branches down along the stream that runs to sea. Listen to my plea, listen, willow, and weep for me.
I love Fernway. Hell yeah. Fernway came out nicely. See you in Truth and Consequences. Indeed. See you there. It's going to be fun. Let's see. Hey, Dr. Smith. How you doing? I appreciate that. Okay. You're so awake. Enjoying the concert? Enjoying the concert? Yeah. All right.
Try to think that love's not around, still it's uncomfortably near. My poor old heart ain't gaining any ground, because my angel eyes ain't here. Angel eyes that old devil sent, they glow unbearably bright. Need I say that my love's misspent with angel eyes tonight? So drink up, all you people, or you're anything you see. Have fun, you happy people. The drinks and the laughs on me. Pardon me, but I've got to run. The fact's uncommonly clear. Need to find who's now the number one, and why my angel eyes ain't here. or do anything you see. Have fun, you happy people. The drinks and the laughs on me. Pardon me, but I've got to run. The fact uncommonly clear. Need to find who's now the number one, and why my angel eyes ain't here.
All right. This is a great baby. This is one of the great. I don't know if you guys got the memo. I think an email went out, but when she was born, she's the best baby out of all the babies, actually. Like not just out of my babies, like the babies totally. She's just the greatest baby ever. Yes, yes you are. Yeah, she's like looking at me right now. Oh, thanks, Quinn Price. That's very nice of you to say. I've been practicing this bebop stuff and like Sonny Stitt stuff lately, and I just suck at it, and it's tough. I definitely do not feel like a guitar god. I feel like a guitar novice. Can't play rhythm changes to save my life in those tempos. I mean, not that that's what I do, but it's yeah, very humbling to hear some of these people. Yeah.
The evening breeze embraced the trees tenderly. The trembling trees caressed the breeze tenderly. Then you and I came wandering by, and lost in a sigh were we. The shore was kissed by sea and mist tenderly. I can't forget how two hearts met breathlessly. Your arms opened wide and closed me inside. You took my lips, you took my heart so tenderly.
Not to beat a dead horse, but the new Dirty Horse album is fantastic. Thank you. And I saw your question. I saw half your question on YouTube, but it wouldn't let me read the rest of it. J.A. It was something about Dirty Horse Part 1, that, where it comes from. Dani wrote the A melody. Which is kind of like an Israeli folk sound. Just like a 1-4-1-2-5 thing. And I wrote that which kind of decided to split up that melody between the two instruments to where it's kind of bouncing around. So, I mean, I don't know where it comes from, but like the beat is kind of like a gypsy waltz thing that I wrote, which is more like just a typical. I mean, it's not that typical, but I mean, I just had the idea to write that thing and we kind of combined them. And then the solo section in that song is the changes of Swing Chitan but we made Swing Chitan is just like an A1, A2 form, and we just made it an AABA, and then wrote different changes for the bridge. So on the outside of the song, it's just it's like just like Swing Chitan, the song. And then the bridge now, just a chromatic. That was a good one. Fuck, I forget. Oh. Fuck. That's it. I should. So yeah, I mean the harmony is pretty much a gypsy jazz harmony with kind of a different bridge. Yeah, the intro has that chromatic thing. So very, very gypsy, but you know, obviously like gypsy metal kind of thing. Yeah, for those of you guys who have no idea what I'm talking about, that's the title track from our new album. It's Dirty Horse, only available for VIPs such as JA. So if you're curious about it, you can go to marvinmusic.bandcamp.com/merch and get it right now. And be in on it. And if not, we can just keep hanging out. Yeah.
In the wee small hours of the morning, when the whole wide world is fast asleep, you lie awake and think about the girl and never ever dream of counting sheep. When your lonely heart has learned its lesson, you'd be hers if only she would call. In the wee small hours of the morning, that's the time you miss her most of all. whole wide world is fast asleep. You lie awake and think about the girl, and never ever think of counting sheep. When your lonely heart has learned its lesson, you'd be hers if only she would call. In the wee small hours of the morning, that's the time you miss her most of all.
You guys ever check out diminished chords over the 5 chords? It's a nice touch. Looking forward to the show at Minibar, KC. Hell yeah. Yeah, make sure you buy tickets in advance to that one. It's going to be fun. I like that you guys are talking to each other. This is a very good development. But yeah, when you're going from like a C major to a G7 and you're applying symmetric diminished on the G7, it's very good to be able to use a lot of the chords that come out of that. There's nice tricks you could do. Like seeing that Hendrix chord for the sub 5. Or that's a weird sounding one. A lot of tension there. Need to resolve that. Right, that's a nice sound. Songs like that. Right? What's Scott 8 Church in St. Louis? What is that, Jacob?
In my solitude, you passing by. In my solitude, you taunt me with reveries that never die. Alone in my chair, filled with despair, I've never been so sad. With gloom everywhere, I sit and I stare. I know I will soon go mad. In my solitude, I pray. Sweet Lord above, send back my love. In my solitude, I pray. Sweet Lord above, send back my love.
Hey, so far so good. That's all I can say, Mount Peg and Deacon. So far so good. Hey mate, can you talk a little about gypsy picking? Of course I can, but you gotta ask me a question about the gypsy picking. What do you want to know? Is there something in particular that's been bothering you? or that you want to get better at, and I can help you that way. A lot of it, it's a surprising amount has to do with the left hand too. I've kind of come to realize the more I've been teaching it to people. The more I've been teaching it to people, it's in both hands. Like a lot of times, the fingering that you're gonna use to actually get the things to come out, they're pretty specific. But it's the motion mechanics that's very different. I mean, this is not great technique for like people who play bebop can't really do it that way. How do you do it when you're double downing? Do you have set phrases? I'm not a lick guy, so for me, like, I'm really into improvising, not just playing the same. I mean, everybody. You're a prisoner of your own technique. That's inevitable. But within that technique, you want to be able to make stuff up. So yeah, when I'm going down like 3 notes per string, that's just down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down. So there is the double down, right? I think the trick is at the beginning, the instinct is to slam into the rest strokes. And then you get this really uneven sound, and you're really explosive every time you hit the string, and you want it to be a line. You want it to be smooth, right? So here I was alternating most of the time, but then between the B and G string, for instance, there was this, like 1, 2, 3, like down, up, down, down. You just want it to be smooth with the rest of your line. So I guess the place you want to get to is where you can just throw it in without it throwing you off. But again, this is a good technique to get the sound up to a speed. Nobody plays 30-second notes like shredding, descending double downs, because the hand just, like a double down can't be faster than what you could physically, like, think about it like this. If you don't have a pick in your hand, you just go down, right? Think about how quick you can possibly go down twice. Even if you're twitching, right? So that's like, that's about it. That's kind of like the opera extension. Now, if you have a freaky physiology, it might be 5 BPMs more, right? But no more than that. Right? So that's how it's capping. Now, if you think about that in an alternating motion, right? That's not very quick, right? If you're splitting it up with upstrokes. So it's just, if you think about just the downstroke motion, it's about here. So pop, 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 pop. To stick a double down just means that wherever you would alternate, you'd put a downstroke, right? Pop, 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 pop. So you just got to get that flow where sometimes there is that double motion, but don't pretend like it's not capped off. That technique is very limited, and it's a sound thing. You just want to have that strong, even percussive sound when you're playing mostly eighth note lines, kind of quick, right? If it's very quick, if it's much quicker than that, then you're either alternating or sweeping. There's none of that. You just have to find fingerings that, if you're trying to play lines like down, right? If you throw a double down in the middle of that, you'll just fall on your face. It doesn't exist in this kind of music. So it's a lot of it's just having realistic expectations from the technique. But, if you're trying to be free, let's say you're playing like a swing song like right about here. Yeah. So here I'm having a lot of like double down in the middle of lines. Going this way, like, from the thick strings to the thin strings, it's no problem because I'm just sweeping. The other way takes some getting used to. In terms of the mechanics of the motion, what you really want to make sure is that the stroke before crossing the string, before, like if you have a double down, then the first one of the two, the one that's preparing for the second down, you have to clear the string or you're not going to be able to land. So what I mean by clear the string, you have to be above the string you're going to go down on, right? So it's if you end up like a rest stroke, you're never going to get a double down. That's not the motion. It's down. You see how I bounce and then go into a down. So the first one is after. It's important. It's hard to see, but if I pretend this is in slow motion, it would be like that's the first one. So you see, I'm going down, and then I'm just above the string, ready to land again. And then the second down ends it. So doing it from the now, if it's on the same string, that's what it looks like. If I'm doing it on the B string, and then I want to play a downstroke on the G string, I gotta clear the G string. So I gotta go down after I play the B string, and then I'm up here ready to go down to the G string. Just play an arpeggio, like take a chord that's pretty, go. All these exercises are good. Set phrases, I understand the temptation. The problem with practicing set phrases is that you end up playing them, right? And it's just so lame, you know. But for practicing, it's not obviously like, you know, you practice a set phrase for a while till you get it. But then it's kind of like, you know, you got to know when to release that. Stephen, I'm really glad you and a friend got 6 tickets for KC. That's amazing. Now have each one of those people that you got a ticket for buy 6 tickets each, and we'll be in good shape. But Tom and Marley, is this answering your questions? I hope so. Sometimes you can't. Sending my grandpa to a Tommy Emmanuel show Saturday. Tommy Emmanuel is pretty good. For his birthday, bringing him to see Marvin in April. Well, that's the real gift. With all due respect to Tommy Emmanuel, we're the grandpa band. Everybody knows that. You don't think it will ever you know, it's it does happen. You do get to a place where you stop thinking about it. Hey Milton. Hey Mama. So yeah, with practicing picking, I think you gotta just make yourself play phrases that have it in. A cliche, like a set phrase that's really good to practice if you're just doing a 2-5-1 thing. Like, how did that one go? This one. That's a really nice one to get. You just got to get the sound out. So again, it's just 2 sets of triplets. First one is divided between 2 strings, and it's just alternating. 1, 2, 3, down, up, down. And this one is that half rest stroke. And then this one is down, up, down on 1 string. So the whole challenge is to go Oh, sorry. Triplet, 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 triplet. But between the G and the D string, so if you just practice a triplet, but it's down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. So that's just over a G7 going to a C. I know that's a lot of the same thing, but I'm trying to get out of lick thinking, but like you say, it takes a lot of time. Well, I mean, lick thinking isn't something you need to get out of. It's something you don't need to get into. And the trick with learning music is to learn very small bits, smaller than licks. You know what I mean? Like a lick would be something. In my mind, a lick would be an entire idea, something that you would play over like. You're coming in for a smooch?
I am.
You can have a smooch. All right. Yeah. She's
Does everybody
enjoying.
realize there's a baby here?
I think most people realize it's not subtle.
Hi, Milton. Good. Nothing.
Nothing wants to be in on the fun.
Watch, hopefully when I leave.
Let's see.
Milton! It's because he can't get over the cord. Okay, I guess not.
All right. So, yeah, it's a pretty happy baby. Anyways, it's, with lick thinking, you want to learn from other people, but you want to learn in the resolution of the musical word, not the musical sentence. That's really the key. So you got to take parts of licks and figure them out technically, like 4 notes, 5 notes, 6 notes, and figure out like really in detail what people are doing with their hands. Like if I'm playing, like to me that's not a lick, right? It's just like a piece of a G713 with a chromatic thing. But you can, it's still something you can turn, right? I can play it in a lot of ways. This is a lick. It's not. I mean, it's not a lick that I wrote out, but it's if you were to learn it, like if you were to pick it up from a piece of a chunk that big of an improvisation, it already has so many little things built into it. You can't really make sharp turns with it. You want to make your playing built from very small pieces, but not notes, right? When you're transcribing somebody, let's say you're transcribing me, you don't want to be like, he played a B note on the C. That's cool. That's the resolution of a letter. You know what I mean? But you don't want to take 4 bars of what I played either. That's the lick. That's the whole sentence. If you steal words, you can't steal words. It's like words don't belong to anybody. Words are the appropriate resolution to learn from people because they're the building blocks of what we do. Not the grammatic building blocks like notes or like a downstroke on a B. They're just the things that ideas are made of. And then if you learn enough of them in contexts, like in the context of a G7, you have enough stuff on a G7, then you can take some sharper turns, right? Connect different pieces of the neck. Let's say you know this, or to me even that's a few ideas. That's kind of like one, and I can do a lot of things with that. a lot of things. Or maybe here. I'm missing kind of an area of the neck. So, you know, that's kind of like just connecting different areas, different rhythms. Still, is this making sense to everybody? There was a jangle lick that I can't remember anything. That's it. That was the cool thing. So that's a nice lick. But it's nice because I can understand what he's, you know, it's like. Been linking my scales up and down the fretboard. Gets a nice sound. Yeah, people come up with different solutions. There's the guy that explains the George Benson stuff. His name is Peter something on YouTube. I watched some of his videos just because he's a Brazilian guy, and he said he had my favorite. He has an accent and he doesn't say thirds. He says turds, and it was my favorite like YouTube moment of all time, really, because he said arpeggios are the shit, man, because they're made up of all turds. Scales are made of seconds. It's a weak interval, but arpeggios are the shit. They're made out of all turds. Precious. Yeah. But in any case, he was talking about what he calls scale arpeggios, like for C major. And it's just a way of arranging the neck in 2 notes per string things to where you can pick them easily, kind of like pentatonic boxes, right? You have this A minor pentatonic. So for him, a C major would be like that area, starting from the 6. The next area would be. The next one would be. The next one would be. So, and then the last one. So when you're going down, the sending is hard when you're picking. But if you have something that's 2 notes per string, to him that's like your 1 chord, your 6 minor, and your 3 minor, right? If you're playing over a C major, that kind of covers all your C majors. It gives you a pretty jazzy kind of Benson-y sound, right? So different people arrange the neck in different ways. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you just need to see it wherever you are on the neck, and that just takes time. It's a process. are working on fit into the songs. If you're not bringing it into songs, it will never amount to anything. It'll just be stuff. It will always be stuff. So you can work on something fairly simple, like let's say when I'm playing every time I'm playing the one chord, right? Here's something just kind of like a nice trick. It's just stacking turds. So if you stack thirds from the root, from C, you get this, right? C major 7. If you stack thirds from the third, you get E minor 7. Right? And if you stack thirds from the sixth, you get A minor 7. And those three sounds work nicely over the one chord. Right? Nothing much, but you gotta make yourself do it on the song, right? It's a nice sound. But you can really get lost in that sound without ever trying to apply it to anything. But now it's right.
I'm confessing that I love you. Tell me, do you love me too? I'm confessing that I need you. Honest, I do.
So now I'm using that as kind of just trying to a major third or a minor third. Yeah, but all thirds work. That's why arpeggios are the shit, because they're all made of exclusively thirds. That's the logic. That's all you need to know. I don't feel like I'm good enough to compose jazz. It will take a while. Well, most of these guys that play this style didn't compose a tune in their life, but I think you learn a lot of songs and the forms kind of. I would just, our generation. Well, I don't know how old you guys are, but my generation is self-obsessed. Like the self is a religion now, and that is the last thing you want to ask yourself about when you're dealing with this style, like what your unique sound is. That's people who are great are unique because they're great. They're not great because they're unique. And greatness veers off into very deep and weird places, but you shouldn't. This is not a process of finding yourself. It's a process of making yourself, and you have to learn external things. It's not about getting to know your inner genius. It's just about learning songs and figuring out the tools that the people before you knew very well. And it's hard to wrap your head around the fact that somebody in the 50s just could kick your ass so bad at music. With all the technology you have now, it seems like you should have all the resources, but all it takes is thinking and time on the instrument, and they had much more time to work on this kind of stuff. So, yeah. I think what you got to do is really forget about your notions you have about yourself and take this journey of like just learning what other people did very seriously. Memorize things. Everything is memorizing. If you're the kind of musician that reads notes, charts, or your iPhone at a gig, you should stop today because you're embarrassing yourself and everybody who looks at you. I'm sorry. I know it's not easy to hear. But things that aren't in your... If you're using CPU with your eyes reading music, then it's CPU you're wasting. And you probably don't have any to spare to begin with. So did you have a practice routine? No, you don't. You don't. There's no such thing as a practice routine. A practice routine assumes that yesterday's you is somehow more responsible for tomorrow's you or for today's you than today's you, right? Why are you making a plan? Is is the plan you made yesterday a good plan? How do you know? You're not good enough to figure that out. It's like growth happens because you're making intuitive choices in the moment of what to work on, and you got to trust yourself. So it's just about taking the right step at the right time. So just look at your feet and 1 foot at a time. You just kind of go forward. So if you don't, first of all, it's context. So if you don't have you can't play jazz if you don't know any jazz songs. So the first thing is to memorize some songs, the chords. Now you're like, do I memorize every shape all over the neck and every place to play the melody? Well, start with one, right? One way of getting from the beginning to the end of the song without stopping or messing up the time. If you can't do that, then that's what you need to do. Figure out how to get through a song and memorize the changes, right? And then memorize the melody. Maybe play them together in some way. Then try to improvise through the thing. Do you have vocabulary? Do you understand what to play over what? Do you... And again, each one of these things opens, if you have none of this together, there's so much to get together. You got to get together your technique. You got to get together your note choices, your touch, your rhythm, everything. The past couple years, I've been listening to you in backing tracks. Kid check time. Be right back. Yeah. Yeah, and taking lessons and learning from people is kind of like a process of getting slapped around. That's really, and it's in a good way. It's like you go to a teacher and you play for him and it's like your time is shit. Boom. And then you're like working on your time. It's like you're missing all the notes. Boom. It's like, you're losing the form. Boom. It's all true, doing something poorly or making a lot of mistakes at once. It's hard to find simple versions of jazz songs without the instrumentalist. What's this? Straying mics from the melody. Any suggestions? Well, I mean, going to the earliest versions is probably the safest bet. But I mean, that's also something you need to understand about the nature of these melodies. I think since they're monosyllabic, there's one syllable per note in most of them. I think the lyrics are the best way to memorize. Miles away. The lyrics are like, I would not listen to John Coltrane or Miles Davis to get it together. I would listen to singers. And also with singers, I think to get a sense of what a jazz melody is for one of these songs, what it really is, you need to hear a few versions or the same guy doing it a few times. But you also learn about what you can do, how you can throw the rhythms around in multiple locations with it maintaining its identity. And that's really the big lesson about jazz melodies. But if you know the lyrics, you know the amount of spaces you need to fill with notes, right? So if I'm trying to figure out Autumn Leaves, right? And I hear Miles Davis playing a version and it goes, hypothetically, like, I'm just trying to like play a melody that's not, just kind of like all over the place. But if you listen to Sinatra, it's really like
The fallen leaves drift by my window. Da, 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 da.
right. It's like that each word is a note, right? And when you're listening to like some interpretation of it later on, they're doing all this stuff to it that you might, that might not be the best starting point to learn the song. So I mean, I'm always all for starting with the actual song before people start fucking with it. So the earliest version, usually the version with lyrics. But yeah. If I had not had video games as a kid, I would probably shred. Yeah, video games are very destructive. I don't play any video games, I don't think. I think that's a horrible waste of your time. I mean, but that's not as bad as just being on your phone. That's probably the worst. But yeah, in any case, the point I'm trying to get to is that if you just treat them like Beatles song, right? It's like when you're... And the version you're actually learning, just actually learn it. I think that's really it. And if the version that you're stuck on seems to be too obscure, then just stop listening to that version. Maybe that's just, Miles Davis on, like half drunk on a 8-ball of cocaine at a show, just fucking with it. Maybe it's not the place that you want to start learning jazz. Good singers you recommend? Sure, Louis Armstrong, Frank Sinatra, Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Johnny Hartman, Nat King Cole, Dinah Washington, Nina Simone, Mel Torme I like, Tony Bennett's not bad. Not bad's a pretty funny way to describe it. Like on any of these guys are all, you're not gonna go wrong with any of that. For me, Sinatra, I love Sinatra. Some people, it's too over the top for them, but I'm really into it. Good resource for songs. Now, again, those versions, if you transcribe them, especially like the Nelson Riddle stuff. The arranger does quirky things with the harmony, but a lot of time you learn cool harmonies. You're not... Listen, if you're afraid of learning the version on the record instead of the version on the chart, then you're afraid of the wrong thing. The version of the chart is just some nobody who transcribed it for the internet. The version on the record is a somebody who came up with a way of playing something. You know what I mean? Like, those are the versions. It's okay if you learn 5 versions of something, and like the idea of what a song is kind of is the residue of what that all these versions leave in your mind, and plus all the experience you have on your instrument of putting them on your instrument, right? And that's how it works. Because I don't know, like when I play the songs I play a lot. Like at this point, they're so far. I just play them the way I play them because I play them so much, right? So, I don't know, like body and soul, right? I can't even think of. Did you take lessons? Sure I did. I took a lot of lessons. I took lessons. I had a few teachers in Israel before I moved to the States. Then I went to Berkeley, and I had a few lessons. Or not a few. I studied there, and then when after I graduated, I've had maybe 3 or 4 lessons whenever somebody did something that I didn't understand. Right, like when I first started playing gypsy jazz, I took a lesson with Yaakov Chotel in Israel just to look. Our lesson wasn't, I mean, I could already play, I didn't have any rest stroke technique down, but I just had my phone. This is before iPhones, but I had my old phone that had like a camera, and I was just filming his right hand when he was playing, and then I went home and figured it out, you know. So yeah, I mean, I take lessons. I will take a lesson tomorrow if somebody did something I was interested in, and couldn't figure out on my own. You know, sometimes it's good to know when you're stuck. You know, when you've exhausted, when it's not a matter of not playing the video game and just putting time. It's a matter of you actually just like I don't get it. What's that person doing? So if you ever feel like that and the guy's offering lessons, just fork over the money and figure it out. That's a worthwhile investment. By the way, did I mention that our new album, you can get it today if you buy the VIP pack on our website. If you go to Bandcamp, marvinmusic.bandcamp.com/merch, it's the best album we've ever made. Do you do lessons? Feel like playing Autumn Leaves? Sure. I do lessons. Yes, I do. I teach on Skype.
The fallen leaves drift by my window. The autumn leaves of red and gold. I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburned hands I used to hold. Since you went away, the days grow long, and soon I'll hear old winter's song. But I miss you most of all, my darling, when autumn leaves start to fall. The fallen leaves drift by my window. The autumn leaves of red and gold. I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburnt hands I used to hold. Since you went away, the days grow long, and soon I'll hear old winter song. But I miss you most of all, my darling, when autumn leaves start to fall.
All right, I got a hot date with my wife. I gotta go.